This presentation shows you how to do the default installation, the setups for a CR391 controller, and it is targeted at the installer. There are three versions of the CR391 PC board, the oldest versions being 801, the newest in production is 803. It is slightly smaller. The boards are similar, the functions are the same. Terminals numbers do vary, connectors are almost identical, almost the same place, and links are mostly at the same place. So everything in this presentation refers to 803 using the terminal numbers 803, but the inputs and outputs are the same. So the factory reset. This is for the defaults that we are discussing in this connection. You can do a factory reset via a link on the PC board. They are sitting at similar positions on these boards. So what you need to do is the board must be running, so the run LED, the top LED, will be flashing about once a second. Then you need to short circuit these reset or test links. This you do by inserting a link over these two pins or simply sticking a screwdriver between those two pins. What then happens is both the reader LEDs go on. Those are the third and fourth LEDs. Those LEDs go on, and then after about a second the one goes off. Then you need to remove the link. So remove the link or pull the screwdriver out. If you don't remove, nothing will happen, it'll just step through. Then you will see the second LED on the board. That's the comms LED will flash fast while the board is being reset. Another way of doing a factory default reset is via the handheld programmer. So you need to connect that to COM-A, the COM-A connector, and you do need to insert the handheld link, which enables the handheld to be used as an editor. So you will see move to menu, and you need to scroll to the reset menu. This you do by holding the star and pushing key 3 or for left or 3 for right until you get to the reset menu. Then you need to go down into the reset menu. That you do by holding the star key and pushing 5 until you see reset all. While this is displayed and you select the star key, the reset will happen. If you do not want to reset, we'll then simply push the star key to exit to abort. And again, you will see the LED 2 on the PC board flashing fast, showing you that it is being reset. This slide shows the connections for these default settings. And yes, you've done your factory reset, so the default is an access 2-door configuration. Here are the terminals, and note the terminal numbers will differ for the older versions of PC boards. Inputs. All inputs have a 5-volt pull-up on the board, so that facilitates you just connecting a simple contact as an input. And these inputs are normally open. You can invert this, change the polarity via an additional setting. So any input can be, the polarity can be changed. So let's go and add a portal exit device. That's the push button or the egress to push the request to open the portal. And this you connect to terminal number 12, return terminal number 11. So this is input 1. Input 2, the default is for the portal sensor, so you can go and connect a door contact in terminal number 13. That is to monitor the door. The action is complete. We energize the latch and we can see the door opening or not. This gives you the additional functions of monitoring the door for illegally open, open too long, or door not opened. For portal 2, the push button is connected to terminal 14, that is input number 3, and the portal sensor is connected to terminal number 15. Now note, all these return lines are to ground. You could use any ground on the on the controller. It doesn't have to be as shown. And yes, these are simple contacts, so the polarity on them at the device doesn't matter which way around. Let's go and add readers. The CR391 can have 2 readers connected directly to the controller. These are Vigand or data clock readers. And yes, it requires that you use a screen cable and that the cable is earthed at the controller. If the reader is mounted on a metal base like a gooseneck, that must also be earthed. So if there is not a screen there, well, then tie that metal base to the screen. Power to the reader is via terminals 31 or 41. Yes, note, these two terminals are identical. Plug 3 for reader 2, plug 4 for reader 2. The power supply, the 12 volts, is via current limiting resistors. This is to prevent you from short circuiting the 12 volts at the reader, blowing the fuse on the board. If you do not want to current limit, then stick in link 1 or link 2 for reader 1 or 2 to short circuit this resistor. In other words, no current limiting. Each reader can have 3 LEDs as is shown, and these are open collector outputs on the board with current limiting resistors protecting your LEDs in the reader. You can have inputs to enable the reader. For example, you want the reader only to work when there's a vehicle on the loop. So for reader 1, it is terminal 19, and for reader 2, it is terminal 20. Again, these could all change. You can move them elsewhere, but these are the defaults. Let's look at outputs. CR391 has 4 relays. Relay 1 and 2 are normally open. Relay 2, 3 and 4 are normally closed. And yes, you can turn this around with an additional setting. Here I'm showing that the relay is simply a switch to whatever at the latch. If you do need to provide power to the latch, we have 12 volts on the board. That is a fused 12 volt, and you could use any of those 12 volts on plug 6. So you feed the 12 volts to the one side of the relay, the other side goes then to the latch. For latch 2, the default is output 2, that's relay 2. The connections are shown here again, the power going in at terminal 58 and out at 57. Let's go and add a card capture. The default is card capture 2. Yes, you could have card capture 1, but the default is card capture 2, and this is connected as shown. This is typically used for visitor cards. You want to capture the card when they leave, so they badge at reader 2. We see it's a capture card. We then energize relay for output 4. That will feed power through to the card capture unit. It will open its slot where you've got to drop the card, and the indicator light will be on. And yes, we monitor back on terminal number 18 that the card has been dropped. Then we will energize latch 2. Something more about loads. Inductive loads, when you open the contact of the relay, you get sparking on the contact. Now, the solution is simple. For DC loads, add a diode over that supply. And yes, the polarity is important. It must be as is shown. If you are using AC loads, here I'm showing AC fed through relay 2. Then you have a capacitor and resistor over that supply. And yes, these diodes and resistors and caps are provided with the controller. So these are the basic connections for the default, the 2-door configuration. And this pamphlet is provided with a controller, and it is also printed on the packaging of the controller. Now, if you did want to do one door, so reader in and reader out on either side of a door, then we don't have latch 2, we don't have push button 2 and door sensor 2. In legacy mode, that requires an additional setting of one door. It will then know reader 2 also drives latch 1. In universal mode, you can have up to 8 readers, so you need to pair the readers together that are sharing the same latch. So in this case, you would link access 1 to access 2. Note, you could have two separate latches, as is required by certain kinds of man traps. If you do want reader 2 to drive latch 2, then you need to define an output as latch 2. If you need to drive the same latch, well, then you must not define latch 2. When using the CR391 in the legacy mode, you will have to set up how to communicate with the server. How do you talk up? If you're in the universal mode, you probably don't have to come do any settings yet. You can do it from the server or from the application SES controller. So to use the handheld, I've shown the previous slide, plug it in, stick the link in, and the handheld becomes live. There is a whole presentation on this on the hand programmer, but to recap, if you push the star key, you push and hold in the star key, it becomes a function key. So hold star, and push 3, the cursor or the menu will move right. Star 2 is left, star 5 is down, star 6 is up. Star on its own, push star and release, depending on the menu in, it might move you up, it might move you right. If you push star star, it will save your changes and it will exit. Hash is a shortcut key for down, so to go down just push hash hash. It's the equivalent of pushing star 5. So let's navigate to the comms setup. So you would have gone left, you would have gone down down until you get to the node address. Setup comms node address. The node must be unique on a LAN. Each controller must have a unique node address. If you reset and there are no Ethernet ICs, in other words, this is a CR391B, the default is node 0. So in legacy mode, you will have to come and change this. If the Ethernet ICs are detected, so we're a COM391M, the node is 1, and if you're staying in that mode, you don't have to do anything. The controller mode. The controller can work in different modes. If you reset with the handheld link in, it is the CR355 mode, the most popular legacy mode. Or if you reset with the handheld link out, it is universal mode, that's node 7. To change an option, just simply move the cursor to where you want to change and simply overwrite. If we go down, we select the mode. How do we communicate up? So if it is a CR391B, the default is 0, so we are LAN slave. The mode M, CR391M, the default is IP. Yes, you can use the CR391M as a LAN slave, then this setting needs to be changed to 0. If we are IP, communication mode, then you can go and change the IP address, the IP mask and the port as required. So simply move your cursor to where you want to change and overwrite it. We go down, we see the COM port. There are 5 COM ports on this controller, and COM A, the default is FLAN, that's front LAN master. That is the communication to this handheld programmer. And here you'll see the cursor will be on the caret symbol, that's that upside down V. If your cursor is on that, that means there are options. You can simply push 2 or 3 and it will scroll to the next or the previous option. So push 2 or 3 to your required setting. This is the communication protocol. More details in the manuals. If we go left, we will see COM B, left again would be COM C, etc. So COM B is the defaults for LAN, and again, if we are IP, we will be LAN master. If we are serial, we will be LAN slave. We do need to have, if we're using LAN, we do need to have all the controllers at the same baud rate, and the default is 19200, that's option 0. In older versions, the default was 9600 baud, so beware, all the controllers must be set to the same baud rate. So simply get to this setting and change as required. So there we have it. You have your COM settings and you can communicate to the server, and all other settings can be done from there.